You know, one of the things that Kevin and I learned is that to get through this point, a lot of times it's just being able to work together and relate to one another. And we know that family dynamics and how we grew up, you know, a lot of that impacts how we relate and how we communicate with each other and how we deal with different things in the marriage and stuff. And so for me, you know, I'm from what Kevin and I call your death do us part, or from a family of from your death do us parters.
Death do us part.
Meaning that my parents were together until my daddy died. And so I think mom and daddy might have been married about 40 years, 45 years or something like that before daddy died. And then of course my grandparents were together until granddaddy died, and that was probably close to about 50 years that they were together. And my grandmother's sister and brothers were all to death do us parters, you know. In fact, we have still one of my grandparents, my grandmother's brother and his wife, who are like 94, I think, and 95, who are still married. So they've been married for about,
awesome.
I think, 75 years. But, and then my daddy's siblings also were your death do us parters. And so I've always been around families who stayed together and was stable, and there was always some continuity and some consistency. That was one thing, you know, I could always count on was daddy's going to work, he's coming home, he's bringing a check to mama, and she's taking care of everything else. Mama always took care of the house. And so that was kind of what we did in our house. And a lot of other things we just did not worry about. He went to work and made the money, and then I stayed home and I took care of the children and our whatever responsibilities that, you know, of course every family has.
Well, you know, that is something I saw also in my grandparents. I was raised by my grandparents. For my mother died when I was 10. So when she died, we went and stayed till I turned 18 with my grandparents. My grandparents, they were
your death do us parter.
Death do us parter.
His uncles were your death do us parters. You know, so you know.
And I got an uncle that's married now. I think he was married for.
Oh gosh, at least 30 years.
Yeah.
At least 30.
Yeah. So.
At least, yeah.
So it's been branded in our minds, in our hearts, for a long time to be death do us partners. That's that's awesome, because that's the way we feel. And you know, divorce is not even an option. I think that God put that out in our heart also. The divorce, no matter what you go through, divorce is never an option for us. So it's till death
do us part.
Us part.
Right. And so, but you know, we've seen so many examples of our families really working through their challenges and working through a lot of their differences and keeping the family unit together.
You know, because marriage is not easy. Marriage takes a whole lot of work, and I'm serious. You got to work at it. You can't just get married and think everything just gonna fall into place. But marriage takes a whole lot. It took a whole lot of work, I think, for Adam and Eve. You know, and I know it's gonna take a whole lot of work for us as a married couple, as husband and wife. It's something we gotta do. I think, like I was talking to somebody today, we have to stick to the word and do exactly what God says to all of us. You know, God has the blueprint for the church, for marriage, for everything in life. Everything that pertaineth to life and godliness has been given to us through the God's word. All we gotta do is follow it. We follow. Look, I'm not saying everything gonna be hunky dory, gonna be easy all the time, because it's not. Because Jesus, I think not Jesus, but Paul made a statement. Paul said, "They that decide to live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution." If you have a godly ideal of God in your life, it ain't gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy, and I don't want nobody to get the impression that that we got it all together. No, it's not easy. We got to work at it.
One thing you always say is, "You rather fight than switch."
Yeah, that's it. I'd rather fight than switch.
Rather just stick to it, work it out.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I am not gonna find another woman like this one.
And that's true.
Me and this lady right here, we've been through, oh man, so much together. There's no way there's no way I'm letting anybody come between what I have with this woman. Because, I've had women say things and the first thing I tell them, ain't no woman like the one I got. No one can treat me better. I just tell them, ain't no woman like the one I got. Because, this is the woman that God gave me to love and to cherish the rest of my life. And that's what I've done. I've never let no other woman come between my marriage. I'll tell them in a minute, you don't look that good, and then you ain't mine.
No,
Sheila is mine.
That's true.
So.
And Kevin, we've had a great foundation, though, see, and that makes a difference of how you approach a lot of the challenges in your relationship. How you see situations handled. Now, see, in our house, and I know this, and I can almost say this without any fair contradiction with your grandparents.
Oh, yeah.
In our house, we never heard mom and daddy arguing. And when they were fussing, it was because mama was always taking us somewhere. We had to go to the football game. We had to go this place. And mama was always taking us where we needed to go. And daddy would be fussing, Ada, they don't need to go there. Ada, they don't have to go there. Ada, you keep running up and down this road. You're not going to be any good to me later. And so, but, we never saw, and I was one of the younger ones, so I'm number 15 out of 17, and so I don't recall hearing them arguing over money. I never heard them arguing over women, and Dad was very good looking. Over women, or you staying out, you not coming back home, none of that stuff. If they had an issue that they needed to resolve, they resolved it when they went in the room. Because when it was time to go to bed, they would go in the room, they would close the door, and that was it. There was no more communicating with the outside world. There was no more communicating with us. They went in and closed the doors.
Handful of resolution, right?
Yeah, and that's how they resolved whatever situations they were resolving.
I really miss those old folks and the way they used to do things, man. Because they really got it done. And they taught us. I know it taught me a lot about relationships and everything, and how to get things resolved. And I'm glad for my grandparents taught me a whole lot about relationships. I learned. And see, I was always one of the people who I had a habit of sitting at the feet of old people and learning. I think that's why I have the mindset that I have today, because I sat and I listened and I learned. And that's a problem with a lot of people today. They don't listen and they don't learn. See, that's why they have to learn those lessons the hard way. I don't believe in going the hard way. You know, listen and learn the first time. And that's the way I feel. You know.
Yeah, and that's great. And I know a lot of the lessons were not actually verbalized. They didn't actually sit down and say, hey, I'm going to teach you this about how to get along and how to work things out. They didn't actually do that as far as the marriage is concerned, but they sure did carry it out, and they exemplified it every single day.
Yeah.
You know, because we had a peaceful and, you know, harmonious home. And so, you know, for me coming into the relationship, it was never an issue of trust, or I didn't have to, you know, deal with stuff like that, only because it was never a concern. So I had no problems with trusting and connecting, because I've always trust and connect, because, you know, I always had like a harmonious home for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of bickering. If it was any bickering, it was Eunice and I fussing probably, and the brothers. But, you know, it was not anything, you know, mama and daddy or anything like that. You
Well,
know,
I think
they just never did it.
Well, I think also it was being the mindset of your husband. I don't like chaos. I don't like a whole bunch of, you know, rumbling and stuff like going on. So
Disputing and arguing.
Yeah, I don't like that. I like peace. I like
Harmony.
And you know, I like to be able to come home and, you know, and be able to come home, sit down, have dinner, and you know, just be things to be smooth. I know that it don't be like that all the time, but that's what I like. I don't.
And that was one of the things too that we mentioned in one of our previous video, is that family stability really impacts how the children grow up and how they relate. You know, being able for the parents, the mom and dad, to be able to work things out and to continue to provide that stability really helps to build emotionally secure, you know, stable children. And for us, for my family, you know, coming up, you know, we had that because that's what we'd always been around, even with like mom and daddy and Uncle Ram and Aunt Martha, daddy's brothers, and, you know, daddy's sister-in-law and daddy's sister, you know, they always were together. You know, they were always a part of the church.
Well, now that you think about it, your parents to you was like my grandparents to me.
Right.
They showed me the way, and because I think if my grandparents were living today, they would be maybe a little older than your parent, but it's around the same era that they lived in. So they gave to me the same type of teaching and upbringing that you got.
The same type of foundation.
Yeah.
You know, stability. You know, we work things out. That's kind of the attitude that they had, and it's the adults. We're the adults in the house.
Yeah.
We work it out. The children don't have anything to do with these adult situations. So we work them out. We go like mama and daddy used to do, go behind closed doors and resolve whatever their challenges were, or whatever the issues were that they were resolving, because they certainly didn't do it in our company, because it wasn't our business. You know, you don't get a grown folk business.
It had to stay in the place.
Yeah, we couldn't get a grown folk business, and they didn't put us in their business. They addressed it, and that's important. I think
Very important.
It's important for the children to see that. Yeah, we have those differences, but we work them out. You come together and you work them out.
That's right.
And that's important to see.
And it'll be important for families today if they could just have a glimpse of what we were raised with so long ago. Because those things still work today.
Mm-hmm.
If people would just listen.
Well, it worked for us. I mean, I was 18 when we got married. I just turned 18.
You turned 18 on a Monday. Hey y'all, I married her on a Friday. I couldn't let go.
Yeah, so I was 18, just barely 18, and
she's trying to insinuate something. You know that, right?
I was barely 18, and then Kevin was 19, and you could only imagine with me being 15, almost a baby, and being 15 out of 17.
Oh, wait a minute. I gotta say. Woo.
I'm sorry, I had to correct that. For me being number 15 out of 17 and being all the way at the bottom and really being like almost a baby, and then being married, and of course, always having your way and always getting what you want, and to get married. And life did, I will say, life did change a little bit. But here we are. 40 years later.
Wow.
40 years later, talking about it and sharing our story with our family, our friends, and our family. So,
been through the military together and everything, man.
40 years later, and so we're just sharing a reflection of our that 40 years of our marital bliss, and
we just want to say one thing: it can be done.
Have to want it.
You have to. That's right. You have to want to be.
Oh yeah.
Like today, these young kids are getting married, and then when things don't go their way, they getting a divorce. And that's and marriage is supposed to be permanent.
To death do we part.
To death do you part. That's what the Bible says. Marriage is supposed to be permanent.
That's that cleave part. When you're cleaved together, you're glued together, and it takes almost an act of God to separate that cleave, because He's the one that put them together. So it's
the scripture mean not only glued but super glued together. So in other words, you glue together so good, it'll be hard for you to separate, and then you go your way and her to go her way, because we are super glued together.
Cleaved together, connected together.
We're cleaved, we're super glued, and there's nothing that can come in between that.
Right.
That's the one thing I love about it. Nothing can come between what we have, because we are cleaved together, glued or super glued together, and there's no separating at all. No way.
So who
no
would
how.
separate you from my love?
Nobody. Because what I like telling them when they try to ain't no woman like the one I got, because no one can treat me better. And I we've been through some sickness, stroke, and I got some open heart surgery, and then still some health challenges from being in the military. But this woman have not given up on me, and I gotta say, well,
you can't if you're cleaved.
Yeah, well, you're right.
What did we say? In sickness and in health, for rich or for poor, till death do us part.
Yeah, and she meant it, and I meant it. Because I know when I had a stroke at 45, I told her, I know that some women would have said, I can't deal with this. I love you, but bye. But I told her when my ship come in, she gets what she wants, cause she has stuck by me the whole time. I know some other black women would have been gone like the wind, but she stuck right on in there with me, and
Kevin, we're cleaved together.
I applaud that.
You can't separate that.
I know, but that's why I say I'm really really glad that you did, because some women won't do it. Some women will not do it, man. So, hats off. I ain't got no hat on, but hats off to her.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley. That's so kind and generous. And like I said, here we are, 40
years
years later, and we're still together.
Still together.